Hello and welcome to the Vine Life Podcast. I'm Tony Clark, your host. I've got a special guest today, and he's a singer and a songwriter. His name is John Berry. Now, John has a Grammy nomination and countless chart-topping hits. His unmistakable voice and heartfelt storytelling have made him a country music icon. Known for classics like Your Love Amazes Me and his uplifting faith-based work, John has touched many hearts for over 3 decades. More information about John can be found at johnberry.com. Once again, johnberry.com. John, it's an honor to have you on the program today.
It's good to be with you. I appreciate the invitation very much.
Absolutely, John. I'm always fascinated with You're such a known musician, singer, songwriter, producer, all of that good stuff. I'm always interested with musicians and artists, their backstory. Go way back for me in your past. What first interested you in music and you got the spark and saying, this is what I want to do with my life?
Well, I grew up as a kid in a home that was loaded with music. My mom loved gospel music, and my dad loved classical music and loved to listen to Van Cliburn and play the piano. And my sister listened to all the greatest and latest stuff on the radio. She was 6 years older than me, and my brother Scott, who's 3 years older, he loved music, and he ended up going the classical route. He became an opera singer and a cellist, and did a lot of operas and different things like that. I became an opera singer, and my original love for music was I started playing guitar when I was 12. John Denver was probably one of the most well-known entertainers of the world at that time. And I was really drawn to anybody who played guitar and wrote their own songs. People like Cat Stevens and Harry Chapin, of course, John Denver and James Taylor, and all those guys. The Eagles came out about that time, and I just loved it. And I started playing guitar, like I said, when I was 12. That summer before my 13th birthday, and I started high school at that time. High school was 8th grade. I started 8th grade with all my friends from elementary school, and was on the cross country team, and I was playing the guitar, I was rocking, and I knew everybody in school. Everybody knew me. And, it was a great time. And over Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving break came up, and said goodbye to all my friends. Have a great Thanksgiving. See you next week. We moved to the other side of the county, changed schools. So I went from knowing everybody in the school to the only person I knew in school was my big brother. And my guitar became my closest friend. And it ended up being the best move possible. I ended up making some lifelong friends at that school, musician friends. My dad helped me build a recording studio in the basement of that house. I recorded my first 3 albums there. It ended up being a great move. But it was a hard few years.
Now, John, it's my understanding. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He got me pretty much into music. Got me really into it. But then I did a couple of albums, and then I did 2 albums, and then my 3rd album before I did that one in '82, and '81 I had a motorcycle wreck and broke both my legs and my left hip. And I couldn't go back to the factory I was working at in Atlanta, walking on a concrete floor and all that stuff. But I could sit on a stool and play guitar. So that's how I got into music full time.
Wow, that's quite a story. And it's my understanding that in the early years, you kind of produced a lot of your music. Is that correct? Your own music?
Yeah, I produced my first 6 albums. And the last 2, Things Not the Same, and Saddle to Win, the final independent. Those 2, Capitol they actually re-released those 2 CDs, and they're pretty good. The first 4 are horrible, and but we're trying to figure out what we're doing. And, the first 3, I have better quality of recording on my iPhone than I had recording those first few albums. So, but it's technology. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And let's fast forward a little bit. I think you recently celebrated the 30th anniversary or 30 plus anniversary now of your number one and iconic song, "Your Love Amazes Me." 30 years. Does it has that flown by for you?
yeah, it's pretty TikTok. It's gone by pretty quickly. Yeah, Your Love Amazes Me came out. It was my first number one record in May of 1994. And that just seems kind of hard to believe. That was been that long ago, but it was. I look in the mirror and it was 40 years. It was 30 years ago. Sometimes I look in the mirror and it feels like 40 years ago, but it was 30 years ago. 31 now.
John, you've had so many hits and so many memorable songs to so many of your fans. I'm just curious about this song, "Your Love Amazes Me." What type of feedback have you had over the years of how this song has affected people's lives?
Oh, people love that song. I didn't write that. It was written by Chuck Jones and Amanda Hunt Taylor, and I was just the blessed guy who drew the card to get to record it. And it's just a great, great piece of music. Um, it's just been a lot to a lot of people. It's been sung at so many weddings and engagements and uh, things like that. And to have a song that's used in such important moments of people's lives, that's pretty incredible.
Well, John, you mentioned one of your health setbacks in the early years with the motorcycle accident. And I've heard you talk about this publicly, so I'll certainly ask some of your battles with health issues since then. I'm just curious with your battles with cancer and so forth. How has that affected or strengthened your faith?
Well, I can tell you one thing for sure, that God has been faithful through all of it. Um, He's continued to let me sing. I singing better now than I've sang in years. Even though this morning I'm having a hard time talking, I might be a little dehydrated or something, but I've been singing better in recent years than I have in 15 years probably. And so the cancer didn't affect it at all, which was amazing. And so but it's certainly God uses these opportunities to draw us closer to Him, and He's just been faithful to see me through all these things, in every single time.
That kind of segues into one of your latest albums, "Find My Joy." And I had the opportunity to listen to it last night and also this morning before this interview. I've got to talk about this album because you take some classic hymns and you put a modern spin on them, obviously, but you keep the classic. Tell me about this album.
Well, it's a record I wanted to do for a long time, and I actually started it a couple of times before, but it just never came together like I wanted it. It more had more of a contemporary feel is what it was headed towards, and that wasn't what I was after. I wanted to take these. I wanted to be more like the Christmas music I've done over the years, which I've taken beautiful Christmas songs and done everything we could to make them more beautiful if we could, with arrangements or instrumentation, whatever it was, just string sections, and we I wanted to do the same thing with this faith-based album with these old classic hymns, and we did six hymns and four new songs of faith, including the title track "Find My Joy," and Steve Dorff produced it. And Steve has a real musicality and has a real history of doing things with orchestras and doing things for TV, and he got it, and it came together very nice.
I'm just curious, just an off the cuff question. With this album, "Find My Joy," is there a specific song, classic hymn on that album that really sticks out to you?
Probably the one that I didn't want to do, "How Great Thou Art." Matter of fact, we'd done 9 songs and we had not cut that song. I hadn't even thought about doing it because I just didn't have interest in cutting it. But Steve said, I think we ought to cut this song. And I said, I don't want to do that song. And he said, why not? I said, everybody's cut that song. There have been a million incredible versions of that song. And that song has been very instrumental in moving people, moving hearts to the foot of the cross. And I don't like that kind of pressure. So I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to go and try. I don't want to do a treatment to that song that's not worthy of what it needs to be. And I couldn't think of anything new to do to it. And Steve said, "Leave it to me. I got some ideas." And of course, he did a beautiful arrangement. The string arrangement's gorgeous, and it came together nicely. And we've been doing it in concert ever since the album came out, and people just love it. So.
Well, it's definitely an album. I certainly want the audience to check out. Go to John's website, johnberry.com, and look up Find My Joy and purchase that album. It's a classic. I haven't heard it with John's beautiful voice and the accompaniment of the players behind him. Is just truly amazing. I haven't heard an album like that in quite a while. So I appreciate that album, John.
I appreciate it a lot. It's 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 pretty old school. It's the arrangements are pretty. There's nothing new about the arrangements, but they're just so the string arrangements. It as well as my soul is like over the top beautiful, and some of the other ones were just kind of unexpected, and I'm really thrilled with how it came out.
Well, definitely top notch. I really appreciate that album. John, you do a Christmas tour, and you've been doing that for a while. Tell the audience about that.
Yeah, this will actually be our 29th season doing a tour. It all started years ago, back in 1994, when I had brain surgery in '94. I'm one of the I use it on my kids all the time. Like, when they were younger, they'd be complaining about doing something. I'd say, "It's not brain surgery. I've had brain surgery, and this isn't it." But anyway, that's another story. But had brain surgery in '94, and a month later, we had scheduled to go in and record a couple of Christmas songs during fanfare of CMA, just to see what we had, see if we had anything that would be worth cutting the record. And we kind of forgot about it with all the hoopla around this unexpected brain surgery. And Chuck Howard, who produced the record, called my wife and said, "Hey, I'm going to cancel these sessions." And forgot about it. I'm going to call it and cancel session. And she said, "No, don't cancel it. John needs the distraction." So we went in and cut "Oh Holy Night" and "O Come Emmanuel." And we just captured something that was unplannable. Is that a word? And you couldn't have made it up. You couldn't have written the script for it. And it was so emotional to be in the studio that day. Matter of fact, Connie Ellis, or her violin, world-class violinist, her violin kept going out of tune. And Chuck said, he pushed the button, the intercom talked through the headphones, said, "Connie, what in the world's going on with your instrument?" She said, "Well, I'm sitting in here, John, listening to John sing this beautiful song, 'O Holy Night.'" And she said, remembering that a month ago we were praying he would survive, much less sing again. And she said, the tears are falling off my cheek onto my violin, making it go out of tune. And you can't write that. It's organic. It happens. And on the other end of the spectrum, how much fun was Garth Brooks having when they recorded the songs "Friends in Low Places"? It was organic, and you can feel it, and it's infectious, and not for whatever reason people didn't know, but they were just drawn to that song, and it became a huge hit for Garth, and because it was real. And the same thing, opposite end of the emotional spectrum, but people, they may not have understood why "Oh Holy Night" hit them like it did, but it was just organic, and it was real, and it was raw and emotional. There it was. And we started doing a tour shortly after, And it grew from originally maybe 5 cities to 10 cities to 15. And we typically do a little over 20 each year. And this will be our 29th year doing the run. So always a lot of fun, always a blessing to go out and do it.
Well, I know my wife and I, we love to go to Christmas performances, Mannheim Steamroller, anything that has to do with Christmas, when it starts getting fall, and we're kind of looking forward to those things. But yeah, definitely. I was looking at your tour dates, and it's got all of that information up there on your Christmas with John Berry tour. I encourage folks that are listening or watching, go check out those tour dates. And John, you said those are held in different cities? Is that correct, or is there one place for this
No,
Christmas?
different city every night. And not sure where we're going this year. Or there's some places we go every year, like Macon, Georgia. This will be our 29th year in Macon. Athens, Georgia. We'll be back in Dothan, Alabama. They closed the Opera House for a few years, and they've reopened it and they had it renovated. So we'll be back in Dothan this year. We'll be up in Michigan. We're in Iowa. I'm sorry, Indiana, and I'm not sure where all, but I think you're right. We're right around 20 cities this year, so maybe 21. So it's always a good run of shows.
Absolutely. And John, you mentioned your wife. Your wife is a part of your accompaniment, correct? On stage, she helps you
Yeah,
out
yeah,
when you're performing.
yeah. She's been singing with me for, well, I guess probably ever since I got my deal. Matter of fact, she sang with me in the band when I did my showcase for Capitol, and then Chuck Howard, the producer, um, he had Marianne Kennedy come sing on the records with me, and so there's a lot of girl parts on the record. So Robin jumped right in and took over those parts, and she's been singing with me ever since. And I think she's got a bigger fan club than I did.
I just, just looking at it from the outset here, it's just amazing that, that a husband and wife can work together. That's a blessing.
I just say yes, ma'am.
Wise advice right there. Absolutely. John, I'm curious. I'm always curious with like musicians like yourself who are so talented and so gifted and so forth. Do you ever get away from music and other hobbies, or is music pretty much all consuming in your spare time?
Oh, well, any spare time I have, I spend it working in my yard. So my wife has built a beautiful yard, and I'm her yard keeper.
Well,
I'm,
again,
I'm yeah,
go ahead.
I'm the gardener. So
Well, again, pretty. Sound like you've got a good head on your shoulders there. So,
yeah. So
um,
I'll give you a little view of the backyard here. So this
please,
is our
yeah,
this is our
nice. Wow, I love that landscaping there. Oh, wow, those are some rock formations.
so it's and it's hard to see, but we're in the middle of a neighborhood. There's
It, it,
there's
it
there's three houses right through there. So
Well, you put a lot of time in that pond and those rock formations. I'm very impressed.
well, it was built when we bought the house, but we've maintained it and improved it a few times and made some changes and we lost a lot of trees. We had a row of Italian cypress along that fence there. Had 18 of them beyond the house, and we lost all those, as well as a couple of I want to say white pines that were in the corner. There were three over there, but um, we had some kind of a wind come through and pushed them all over, as well as a blue cedar. We replaced the blue cedar with a little young one right there, but we had a big, huge 40-footer right there, and it just pushed it right over. And so we're slowly getting it all pieced back together now. But it's a lot of fun and sometimes a lot of work, especially depending on the time of year and with the heat. gets a little hot working in the yard in the summertime, but it's nice, and it's a peaceful spot.
John, are you in Georgia? I can't remember.
No, we're just north of Nashville. We're in the Nashville community.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So I quite a few of my interviews are in the same area, obviously, of course. But yeah, a beautiful area and a beautiful yard, man. You've put a lot of work into that. Should be very proud.
Well, it's a lot of fun, and it's a pretty good mental escape. That's for sure.
Absolutely, John. What do you have coming up? Are you writing new music, or are you just planning your tours? What's going on music wise with you currently?
Well, I'm kicking around the idea of doing another album maybe this year. We'll see. Um, uh, I like to have new music if I can for Christmas, but we're going to go do a run of 20 something cities, and we've got a lot of fans that come to be with us on those dates every year. And if we've got something new, it gives us not only new product and new music, the new CD to have on hand for those who want to purchase our music, but also gives us new songs to put in the show. So we're just trying to figure out what to do with that. So kicking that
Yeah,
around.
and I assume if you're all of that information will be up on your website. Is that correct? If you start working on a new
Yeah,
album.
yeah. We'll start talking about that and figuring out what we're going to do. And, what we've done in the past, we haven't done it recently, but we've done crowdfunding because not so much for the financial aspect of it, but more for the um, it's like a built-in promotion team of what we're doing, and so that's always a good thing. And you have interest from the day you start recording the record, you're already got people interested and vested in it, So that's pretty cool way to do that.
Absolutely. And John, one of the things I need to ask this question also, I think it's really cool. It really stands out. You did a semi, or if you will, a duet with Patsy Cline many years ago, or
Yeah.
a number of years ago, in studio, of course, with modern technology. But that really stands out to me. Any plans of trying to do something like that in the future?
I don't know. We talked about maybe doing some things and um, maybe doing some old classic songs that I grew up listening to that I loved and having those artists come do them with me. And um, uh, we'll kind of see if that comes about or not. We'll see. It's hard when you get in my age. A lot of them aren't living anymore.
Well, again, with the amazing effects of AI and modern technology, you could always pull those voices off of those records as well. I was listening to that with your duet with Patsy Cline. You got such an amazing voice. I'm just curious, and I ask this from for singers at times who have sung for many years and they maintain their voice. How do you maintain your voice? Are there any secrets? I'm sure other singers and songwriters want to pick your brain on that.
No, I don't really do anything. I guess the biggest thing I try to do is sing as much as I can leading up to a run of dates. I've got a couple of shows. I got a date coming up next a week from Saturday, so I have not been out doing any singing in the past few weeks. So I need to buckle down and get a little singing done over the next few days, and because I don't want to walk in cold and try and sing for a 2 hour show. And matter of fact, it's gonna be an outdoor show in Athens, Georgia, where I lived most of my life and where I got started playing clubs and stuff. And we're having a 40th year hoedown in the parking lot of a big club uh, in Athens, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. Matter of fact, the guy who played piano with me when I played clubs in Athens, the guy who played guitar, they're gonna be there. Mike Steele, who played bass with me, he's still playing bass with me now. And we had it was called John Barry and the Pack, and the whole pack will be there except our drummer Mark, who passed away a number of years ago. And but my son Kalen's flying in from Texas to play drums with us, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're just going. It's gonna be a sure enough bulldog throwdown. So.
So I do hear that you are a fan of the Bulldogs. Is that correct?
Well, I lived most of my life in Athens, Georgia, so you know.
Well, I won't tell my wife. She's a hardcore Volunteer fan, so
Go
we'll just let it. That's what I figured. Absolutely, John. John, how can people support what you do?
Well, you can go to my Facebook page and my social medias, which are at John Berry Music, and like and follow us and share us, and most importantly, come hear me play. You know, come to the shows and be a part of what we're doing.
Well, God has certainly blessed you with talent, and you're certainly exercising that gift. It's very obvious, and I just, today I can't thank you enough for being willing to come on and tell your story. But again, if you want to find out more about John, you can go to johnberry.com, and you can purchase his latest music and see what's going on his tour dates as well. John, I will ask you to hang on about 30 seconds post the interview just to make sure everything uploads correctly, but I can't. Is there anything else you want to talk to your fans about?
Well, I just really appreciate the fact that they've followed me as long as they have and enjoyed my music. And I put a post on my Facebook page. We got a page called Friends Who Love John Berry, and which is one you have to submit to join and be approved to join. But we have to make sure you love me, So, but we're talking about maybe this recording project of songs that people have always wanted to hear me sing. Not songs of mine that I've already recorded. You can hear those anytime, but songs that are not mine that folks might like to hear me sing. And the list has been pretty extensive and varied. So we'll see what comes out of that.
Again, John, you're a blessing. And again, please hang on 30 seconds or so. But thank you so much for joining us today.
It's great to be with you. Thank you.